What is vibe coding? We're going to explore that today. I'm going to talk a little bit about it here, and then we're going to jump onto my computer and we'll talk more about it there. Vibe coding, for those who don't know, is coding with the help of AI. So programming has become so accessible with the help of AI now that you basically ask the AI what you want. You're like, hey, I want to build this. Can you do it? And 9 out of 10 is like, yes, this is the plan. Let's do it. That's what vibe coding is. And you're going back and forth, testing different things. Now let's jump into my computer. I'm going to show you a couple of the different tools that you can use to vibe code. The one that most people think of when you're a programmer is Visual Studio. So I have Visual Studios up here that you can download this from. You just search Visual Studios. It's a Microsoft platform. And this is what actual programmers tend to use, is Visual Studios. The one I use is Anti-Gravity. So this is what Anti-Gravity's site looks like. You can go to, it's Google Anti-Gravity. You can install a bunch of different AIs to help you program in Anti-Gravity. It uses Google Gemini, and Google Gemini is actually pretty powerful in its own right, even on the internet. Then there's Codex, all right? Like, there are so many different ways you can vibe code these days. The Codex is a new thing that this is from OpenAI, or for most people who know what it is, ChatGPT. And Codex is their version of vibe coding. You can see what it would look like down here, where you put in your prompt here, and then it spills out the code on this side. And over here on this side, it shows you how it's organized on your computer. Okay? Claude also has its own version of this. Let's go to I think this is their landing page right here. So let's just open up Claude so I can show you, because that's one of the things I have on here. It's very similar to Codex, where you have the center conversation here, and then on the right is the tasks, and on the left is the different conversations and other menu items. Those are all the tools that I'm talking about that you can use on your computer, and it saves all of those assets on your computer, okay? The other ones that if you want to put it in the cloud, there's Base 44, which is really cool. There's Lovable. And then there's also the one that I use, which is Replit. Now, Replit is fantastic because it allows you to basically vibe code apps that are stored in the cloud. Replit takes care of all of the server and all the backend stuff, but also gives you enough GUI or enough details and control over it that you can do all kinds of things. All right, so now that I've explored all the tools, let's just go into one of these tools, okay? Let's do some vibe coding to build a game. Let's do a really simple game. So let's open Godot, and let's open Anti-Gravity. And we're gonna close these ones so they don't waste my power. I'm gonna close that. So we're in Anti-Gravity. We need to start up a new project because right now this is another project I'm working on. Yeah. We're gonna go into File, Open Folder. We're gonna do a new folder, and we're gonna call this, we're just gonna call it Emotional. We're gonna open it up. And now we're in a new project. Over here is your conversation with AI. Over here, I've explained a little bit about what Anti-Gravity is. You can watch that video. In short, this right here shows you the folders and inside what's inside the folder. This is your search. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Remote Explorer, I don't know what that is either. And here's the extensions. So you can add different extensions. These are the different extensions I've added. So I've added Claude Code, I've added GitHub, I've added containers, and Makefile. These were suggested by the AI, and this helps me to create containers to test software. And then GitHub allows me to save my information in different places on the internet. those are things that as you dive into vibe coding, you'll start to understand what they do. And you're going to have to do some research on those, because this is going to be a short tutorial on what vibe coding is and how capable it is. Let's do this. I want to make a game in Godot. Starts with a white background, a black ball, and a black floor, period. This is a 2D side scroller, period. The controllers, I want two different types. I want to control it with the arrow keys on my desktop, period. And I want to be able to control it with a console, period. I will direct you on what console we will be putting this on in the future, period. Put together a plan on how we're going to create this simple game and ways that I can create scenes in Godot, period. In that plan, include a memory folder where you keep track of the progress of this project. In that folder, I want you to document key findings and progress we make on this project, period. Okay, now let's go in here and make sure we get Godot right. Go dot. And we're just going to go enter. There we go. So the key is when you're vibe coding, and you'll get the hang of this after a few months, of what you need to have in your conversation with the AI. Oh, but looks like we need to actually put this in another one because I have used up all my Gemini. Let's use codec. So what's great about anti-gravity is I can have all kinds of different AIs linked to it. I love that about this. All right, paste that in, try again. Now it's thinking, it's running. It's a little tricky when it comes to asking the AI to do certain things, and as you get used to it and practice with a vibe coding, you start to understand the different prompts and the way you need to prompt your AI. And each AI, you need to prompt it ever so slightly differently, if that makes sense, because each AI is like a different employee, and each every employee has their different quirks and capabilities, strengths, and weaknesses, and you have to work with those. It is very much like working with a overseas employee, if you've ever done that before. I've worked with, probably in my lifetime, I worked with 10 different overseas employees at one time when I was running my full marketing consulting company, when it was a full marketing agency. Now we're just a consulting company. And I'm doing this on the side because I love this vibe coding thing, and I love education and sharing with people the things that I know. And I really want a safe place where people can create educational video games that share and teach concepts, because there are certain concepts out there that I feel like are so crucial but are so difficult to learn in your normal way that people don't learn them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. All right, so it looks like the AI is done. Let's dive back into that.
I set up the planning docs foundation for the project and created a memory system so we can track progress as we build. The main plan is in Project Plan MD, and the memory folder is in Memory README MD, Memory Progress Log MD, and Memory Key Findings MD. The plan assumes a simple 2D side scroller in Godot 4 with a white background, black ball, black floor, arrow key controls on desktop, and a controller-ready input layer so we can adapt it later for whatever console you choose. I also included several practical ways to create scenes in Godot, with the recommended starting structure being main TSCN plus a reusable player TSCN. The next best step is to actually create the Godot project and first playable prototype. If you want, I can do that next and set up the initial scene structure and movement code.
Yep. So you can do start, or I like to always copy and paste this in there so it knows. You don't necessarily need to, but I like to. I can do the next step, which is set up the initial scene. That's perfect. Let's do that. Set up the initial scene. I would like to be able to add text to tell a story as the player plays my game. And we're set when player hits things or does a certain combination of button presses. I want a text bubble to come up, almost like it's coming from God. You can tell I go back and forth a lot. Both both have the same folder access. So when anti-gravity updates the folder, Godot gets those updates in the folder and reads it. Let's see where we're at so far in the game, if it even plays. Wow, look at that. It plays and it jumps. Wow, check that out. We could probably even fall off the edge here, and there we go. We're gone. All right. So that's the game so far. It just set up everything that I need to get started, in a sense. Here's another thing too. Let's do a, let's not worry about that. This was just an example of, so here is a great example of what vibe coding looks like for game development. I basically go in here and do everything I possibly know how to do myself with developing the game. And then the things that I get stuck with, I just point my AI to that folder and say, there's a problem in here, fix it. Almost quite literally to that. I give a little bit more context, of course. But that's how capable it is. Here are some other things that I've used Godot or used vibe coding to do. So this is Replit, and I have used Replit to create the RG35 Go website. And I've built this all with Replit with the help of AI. Granted, I've had a decade of building websites on my own from scratch, but it is so much more powerful when you have an AI assistant to do some of the heavy lifting. Like, I would not have been able to put an AI on the website itself that can answer questions for the community. I would not have been able to do that on my own, or I would, but it would have taken me weeks and hours or whatever to figure it out. I mean, and this took 5-10 minutes, you know? So that's one idea. That's one thing. The other thing I've done is, all these other stuff that I'm going to show you, it doesn't actually show or just like show what I've been able to do, but it kind of does. This right here is my AI assistant that I use when I'm making video games, and I didn't use it in this video but I will, for this emotion game that we're kind of playing around with right now, I will eventually have it read all of these files here, and it's going to know how to export the game for a console that I want to put it on. It's going to help and guide me in setting up the key buttons. Here's the different games that I've used vibe coding to assist me in creating the games. Different operating systems. So in MuOS, which is an operating system for a game console, I've developed multiple different apps for that console. I have built apps galore for clients. I have created AI assistants to help people with their businesses. I mean, like, vibe coding is so powerful to the point where it is changing industries. So if you have the time and a computer that is 5 years, even like my computer is like 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old, it's powerful enough to handle this type of coding. So I highly recommend you guys check it out and get into vibe coding. Cheers.